Welcome everyone to Old Roommates. Today on the show, it's my birthday!
Woo!
And we're rewatching Pete's Dragon from 1977. So get ready for a brazzle-dazzle day as we revisit this Disney classic.
Welcome everyone to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And yes, Brian, happy birthday.
Thank you. It's actually my birthday.
It is actually
February
your birthday.
20th.
Wow. And you don't look a day over 57, so you look fantastic.
I appreciate that.
But so what?
Yeah, I know. I hate it.
What do you hate?
Like,
You hate your birthday?
No, well, I mean, do I hate my birthday? I don't know. I feel like it's like just, aging.
Oh my gosh. You're never going to be as young as you are today.
How come I can look in the mirror and I'm like, you know what? I like how I look. And then a friend's like, let's take a selfie. And I want to fucking take the phone and throw it out a window. Like,
maybe you need new friends. Start hanging out with older people.
Yeah, right. That don't take pictures anymore. But I used to love taking pictures and it's like, oh God, let's take another one. Can we do another one? Can we do another? Yeah. But it's like, but in the mirror.
I think you're your worst critic though.
Oh, I think it's most people.
You look
though.
Fantastic.
Oh,
you really do. No one would guess how old you actually are. No, I'm just kidding. But no, you really do. And you know what? You just have to embrace the age.
I
With
know,
age
and a lot of people,
wisdom.
we know a lot of people don't even get the luxury of aging.
Oh my gosh, that's absolutely true.
So I need to be more thoughtful about.
And
that.
I read a quote about aging. I'm not going to remember it 100%, but I read it just the other day. But it was really good. It was like, so I'm going to have to look it up. I will look it up at some point, maybe during this episode.
Right.
But it said something about as you're growing old, you become the person you were always supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, growing old gracefully, I guess maybe is what they're saying. It's like, when you're young, you're always worried about different things, about what people think and what people, you're always wondering about everybody else. And you're doing things that aren't necessarily from your heart and your soul. You're doing things because it's expected of you and things like that. And as you get older, you're much more comfortable with yourself. Mm-hmm. And you do things because it makes you happy. And you do things because you want to do it. And you don't care about what other people think a lot of times. It doesn't always happen that way. But I feel like the older you get, the more you feel that way. And I really loved that quote. I'm going to have to look it up. I don't know it for sure.
Yeah, how old was the person that said that? 25?
17.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm just kidding.
They were 22. But
I like the thought of that, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was saying to someone recently, it's like they turned 30,
mm-hmm.
and my friend Scott, and I said, 30s are awful. Your 40s are great. Like, I love my 40s. But then I feel like
30s
your 50s
are hard.
I don't know. I love my 40s. 30s are hard. And I feel like I feel like it's what you're talking about. I feel like you're under this weird amount of pressure you put on yourself. Like, because the 20s are great. 20s are fun. And you're figuring things out, and like your friends, you're going out all the time. 30s are like someone pumps the brakes, and it's like, oh, you need to get serious. You need to figure things out. And then 40s, you're like, I figured a lot of things out. I have some money. I have some. It's like you have like your stuff, and there are very few surprises anymore.
Yes.
And you're much more equipped. And then 50, it's like someone pushes your health off a cliff. And then that's
true.
Your 50s.
That's true. So if people in the 40s, make sure you're taking care of your bodies.
If you're in your 40s, enjoy every minute.
Just enjoy every minute.
It's the best day. I really believe that. I think the 40s, I love my 40s.
It's a great age.
Yep.
And the other thing, too, about 50s is you start really thinking about retirement. It's a little closer to you. 15 years away is not that far away. And so you start thinking about what you'll do after retirement. So it's 40s, you're a little bit more relaxed and like you're in it. You're really just in it. Your kids are more independent, and not many people are having babies in their 40s typically. Yeah. So I think it's just a different type of freedom, right?
Yeah. How old were you when you had
I was
Emily?
40 when I had Emily.
Yeah.
But that's old. I had a great 30s.
So So it's different for different people.
But no, I agree with you, though.
Yeah, but just for me personally, I do feel like, I wonder how many people feel that in their 30s, or that pressure of like, you need to figure it out. Like, you need to, yeah. So we're revisiting Pete's Dragon.
Speaking of old.
And in typical tradition, or in tradition of old roommates, on our birthdays, we make the other co-host watch something they've never watched before.
Yes.
So as much as this was a revisit for me, Christina had never seen Pete's Dragon.
Brand spanking new.
Before.
And
so
I didn't know anything about it either. Like, I've seen.
Did you even know it was a musical?
No.
Okay, this is going to be great.
No, I didn't know it was a musical. I didn't know anything about it. And if you had asked me what it was about, all I had ever seen about it was the cover. I knew Mickey Rooney was in it.
Yeah.
And I knew there was an animated dragon.
Yeah.
Okay. And I knew there was, real life plus animation.
Yeah.
That was all I knew.
Yeah.
So if you had asked me about it and said, what do you think Pete's Dragon is about?
Yeah.
I would have said it's about a boy with a dragon, and they meet an old man, and they like basically live in the woods, and they're in an adventure in the woods. That is, so when you had mentioned Pete's Dragon, I'm like, all right. And I actually had said something to Matt about that. And he's like, yeah, you probably were thinking about like Puff the Magic Dragon. Because I think that's a similar, not necessarily the old man, but like, kind of traveling through the woods. Like, it was more of like a traveling adventure to me, is what I was thinking Pete's Dragon would be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was completely clueless.
That's great.
But before we begin with me, I want to ask you, what is your history with this? Because it was a surprise pick for me. I was just
I gave you 3 choices.
Yes.
Should we get into that? So I gave 3, because you were very kind to me. You gave me 3 choices.
Yes.
For your birthday, and we picked Grease 2, also a musical. I didn't connect that.
Funny, oh my gosh!
Now. But I gave you Night of the Comet, which is this like low budget sci-fi from the 80s, Pete's Dragon, and Muriel's Wedding.
That's right.
Muriel's Wedding.
That's right.
With Toni Collette. So you picked Pete's Dragon on your own, and so my history with this movie is I probably had not seen it. Watching it on Disney Plus last week, I was like, it started, and I'm like, oh my god. I haven't seen this movie in probably 40 years.
Wow.
Truly. And I'm 52 today, but I'm like, how often would I go back and watch Pete's Dragon? I mean, so all that to say,
it's not something that people talk about much.
No, and it probably had seen it several times as a kid though, and I was trying to, it's interesting. I'm speaking very from a distance on this. When I was watching it as a little kid, I think I subscribed to the idea of Pete, not the Gogans and all that business with Shelley Winters and all that. I think it was him being new to Passamaquoddy and him being different. And even though it's beyond his control. And I think at that point, when I had sort of discovered, I think, Pete's Dragon, I'd watched it a couple times, and then I kept watching it. And I had gone from parochial school in 3rd grade to 4th grade of public school, which is like night and day.
So that's definitely,
and so no one knew me. You feel like a little weird, like, who's the weird kid and all this kind of stuff. And so
I was you had an imaginary dragon too, I imagine.
Well, that imaginary.
I mean, you know what I mean.
Elliot, you can come out now. Imagine if the sheet just like started moving. So all that to say, I kind of got different things out of it throughout my adolescence. And I don't want to give too much talk too much into now, but this came out November 3rd, 1977. There's a real chance I saw this at the movie theater. I probably did.
So you would have been like 5.
5. So it's like but at least in the drive-in, maybe that summer. So they would often do that, bring movies back for like drive-in experiences. And I think like my parents loved the drive-in, and so I probably saw this in a drive-in. I probably saw it in the movie theater, and then when it came out on VHS or whatever, or Disney, Wonderful World of Disney, and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, sure, yes.
I would never have missed it because I used to love this movie so much. But since you don't have a then, I guess let's dive into now. When did you watch this?
So I watched it my very first time. I watched it a few days ago. Actually, it was about 5 days ago, I would say. And I had no idea what to expect. And then I looked at it, and it's like 2 hours and 6 minutes. I'm like, what is Brian making me do right now? What is happening here? So I settled in, I put it on, and I was so excited. First of all, I looked up the cast. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like everybody who is anybody is in this cast. I wrote everybody down. It was like crazy. It was like Mick and Rooney, I think everybody knows about, but like Helen Reddy, Red Buttons, Shelley Winters. I mean, there's so many people in this movie. Jim Backus.
Yep.
And Jeff Conaway.
Yes.
So what bums me about that is I never saw him in the movie. I'm like, Jeff Conaway. I even looked up, I'm like, is it the real Jeff Conaway?
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays Willie. Who was he?
One of the sons.
He was one of the sons.
When you know it, so I didn't know that.
I was
looking.
Kid. I was looking and
wait,
looking.
He's from Greece. I never connected the dots, and then now, so I watched it last week, and when you know, it's still hard to know. I'm like, I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe Jeff Conaway. And then also Jim Dale. So do you know who Jim Dale is?
So I had to do some Googling because his eyes and his face looked very familiar.
Okay.
But when I looked up it, there was nothing I connected to. But I did see that he's like won multiple voiceover awards for the Harry Potter books.
Yes, and I recognized the name because the first maybe 5 books of Harry Potter I listened to on audio.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and that's how I really got into it. I traveled a lot, so I listened to it a lot. That's how I got involved in Harry Potter. And he is so bleeping good. He's so good. He's won Grammys for this work on this.
Yeah.
He does all his voices and things like that. I hadn't known him from anything else except for this.
Yeah.
And then when I'm looking at the credits, I see Jim Dale. And I'm like, no, that can't be the Jim Dale that I know. Because I was semi-obsessed with him. And I looked him up. And I'm like, holy crap, this is Jim Dale. I can't believe it.
He's still alive, by the way.
He's still, yeah. And God, it was just so funny. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jim Dale. I love that guy. Yeah. So all-star cast.
Yeah.
So I was super excited about that. And then the music starts. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is a musical? I'm like, oh my God, how fun.
Yeah.
And the first number is awesome. I thought
in these hills.
No, is that the first number? I was thinking it was the villain song.
That is it.
Oh, okay. Is that the name of it?
We'll tie him up.
Yes. Yeah. It is. I love a good villain song. I love it. It's like my favorite part of a Disney movie is like the villain song. Yeah. And this was so good, and like just the production of it was great. So I just started off at such a positive note. It was so different than what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be so long and boring and just, he's going to trudge through the woods. Like, what the hell can happen?
Yeah.
So the fact that it was a musical, it just perked me up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. And the cast made me so happy. Yeah. So just from the start of the movie, I was very happy about it.
Yeah.
Go on.
We'll go from there. And what was so cool to me is, like I said, I don't even know how many decades it had been since last time I watched it, but Pete comes in on an invisible Elliot, meaning there is no mystery here that Elliot exists, and he comes like riding an invisible Elliot on his like neck, essentially, like near his head. So he's like way in the sky, in the movement of the trees is moving, making way. He's like Elliot's going through the trees.
Yes,
and I'm like, wow, this is so much better than I was worried. I really was worried because as much as I loved this movie back then, I'm like, I'm expecting cheesy.
You never know how it's going to hold up.
You never know. Does it hold up with the special effects? Does it hold up with this? Does it hold up with that? And to the point where I'm like, what does Elliot even sound like? I couldn't quite remember. But it just starts with Elliot being like, meaning the movie is pulling no punches here. Like Elliot is real. It's not some weird kid talking out of his ass. Like, Elliot is real and he can be invisible. And he is running from the Gogans, who are these like hillbilly, scary people. And I will tell you this, when I was a kid,
you must have been terrified.
Absolutely terrifying. But now, through a middle-aged lens, I was like, knowing these used to scare me so much. And this song and dance is hilarious.
So fun.
Even though it is like a truly charming song about how they're going to kill and eat.
Oh, yes. They're going to eat him.
They're going to eat him.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. I can see how a child would be completely terrified by this one.
Yeah.
And I also feel like it's scary because they legally own him.
Yeah, bill of sale.
So it's not like he's just running away from bad guys, but they have a piece of paper that says he has to live there.
$50.
That can give anybody a pit in their stomach. Like, oh my gosh, there's no getting out of this. He has to run away.
Yeah.
So that part I thought was really brilliant. But it's funny you say like there's no. So here's I had a different take on it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because you're saying as a middle-aged lens,
yes,
you're saying, oh, there's no doubt that this thing is real.
Yeah.
I doubted that this thing was real even from the beginning because it was invisible, and I know that he was riding it. And by the way, the effects were amazing.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I thought the effects were fantastic. And because you don't expect, the expectations were low, but they were fantastic.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm thinking this is just his big imagination.
Interesting.
That he thinks he's riding a dragon. Like, because you never, like, Disney is so good that way where they make that imagination come true. So you don't really know because you don't see anybody else yet. Right? Yeah. So this could absolutely be just him with his imaginary dragon.
Yeah.
You know, even though we're seeing it, but we're seeing it through his eyes.
Yeah, because he could just be, this is where his mind goes when he's in danger. And
so it wasn't super clear to me if it was real.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So moving right along, like, so that all happens, and I think Shelley Winters is so out of control. Like,
she's so good.
I think across the board, from Jim Dale to Shelley Winters to Helen Reddy to Mickey Rooney, they are fearless with the outrageousness of the things they do in this movie.
Absolutely.
How they sound, sometimes how they look in this movie. And I think it was so refreshing that they were taking big swings between a drunk Mickey Rooney stumbling around in broad daylight to Jim Dale and all of his crazy facial expressions to so Shelley Winters looking horrifically scary.
Oh my gosh. You wouldn't know
Jeff Conaway was a Broadway star then, and he's like to your point, he's unrecognizable in this movie. And then you have this kid, by the way, Sean Marshall, who plays Pete, zero experience. He just auditioned, and they couldn't even sing. And but they wanted that. They wanted this to be this like
this little kid
in this really bizarre set of circumstances.
Edges.
Yeah, rough kid. Like he's been all around, and they wanted this kind of inexperienced kid. They thought it would be more authentic than a theater kid.
Absolutely, because he's a fish out of water.
Yeah.
In the show, and in real life,
he's
surrounded by these legends.
That's right.
Yeah. Right? I mean, these legends who are super, super talented.
Yeah.
And what I loved about them also is you didn't get the sense that they were acting in a children's show. They were acting like they would act in any drama or any stage show or anything. Like they really put their all into these performances.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed with that as well.
They could turn up the dial. Like they all knew, like, okay, this is a funny scene. This is more scary. This is going to be scarier, and it's just great acting. In my opinion, great acting all across the board.
Excellent chemistry.
Yeah. Yep. So then we get and Carl watched this with me.
Was it his first time?
Yes, it was.
Oh my gosh.
Oh shit, am I right about that? Or you maybe only started in German. I think, but there was a point where he said, I don't think I've ever seen this before. So it's the name of the song. It's really funny. So when I got concerned for you, Christina, is during the next song, which is not so the song is, it's not called I Love You Too. The song is called Boo Bop 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 Bop, which is and in parenthetical it says I Love You Too. This is the song between Pete and Elliot, and they have escaped the Gogans. Now they're sort of walking in this really pretty sunlit field, and they're plucking apples. Uh-oh, am I wrong?
Wait, I thought I Love You Too is with him and Helen Reddy.
Nope, that's It's Not Easy.
Oh, okay.
So this is the song where it's like, I look in your eyes and you whisper sweetly, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, and I paused it and I turned across and I said, I am so glad I'm making Christina watch this. But it's crazy because like Elliot doesn't speak English. Like he speaks in Dragon, and Pete knows what he's saying. And it's effing hilarious. But through my middle-aged lens, I'm like, oh shit, Christina's gonna kill me. And because it's like, it's an entire song and it's a duet. And I'm like, this movie is so crazy, right? Like this is
just
when
so
it got
many
crazy.
different chances.
I'm
surprised.
trying not
like
to yell.
I feel like it should have had more no. I don't know. I guess a lot of people know this movie. Maybe it was just me that didn't watch it, but I just feel like you never hear of it. When you hear of Disney movies, you hear about all the princess movies and things, but you never hear about Pete's Dragon. So it just seems weird because I feel like they pulled out so many punches and they've tried so many different new things, and they were really just shooting for it. And I feel like they shot it. Like I feel like they hit the target. I actually liked this song, believe it or not. But yeah, I did. I just wrote that I Love You Too. I tried to write down the names of the songs. I don't know if I did it all the way through.
It's so damn sweet. That's my note.
I wrote cute and sweet.
Yeah.
Such a cute and sweet song. I said that the animation is impressive.
With the apples and roasting the apples.
All of it. Yeah. I mean, it's really, really cute. And he ends up in the town.
Yes.
And it was fine. But Elliot was giving me so much anxiety. I'm like, oh no, Elliot, please. This poor kid is new to town. So
nervous.
And he's getting in trouble for things that you are doing. Like, no, stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just stop. He seems smart enough to just know that he's getting Elliot in trouble.
Pete in trouble.
Pete, yes.
And it's and like when he's stepping in the wet concrete and stuff, it's like,
oh my god,
it's also weird too because, and this is of course all through a middle-aged lens,
right?
It's so funny because Pete will say, Elliot, you have to be invisible, but then something happens. The first thing Pete says is, it's not me, it's my dragon. I'm like, wait, then just have Elliot appear.
Just have him appear. I didn't understand that.
I couldn't quite figure it. A couple things didn't quite translate from the middle-aged lens.
He's yelling at Elliot even though he's invisible. People are going to see you yelling at nothing, and they're going to think you're crazy and a troublemaker.
And a runaway orphan.
It's
really tricky. And so I wish, and of course, am I expecting a level of intelligence from Pete? No. But I wish there was more reason. Pete seems to have a plan. He seems to have ideas as to why Elliot should be invisible in some cases. For example, he has no problem with people going down to the cave to meet Elliot, but he never has Elliot appear to Nora. And I'm like, wait, now I'm confused. But again, this is all middle-aged stuff.
Yes,
we can dive into
and
that
I
later.
have a couple of notes about that as well.
It was just like, I just wish there was a point where it's like, Elliot, and he does apologize to Elliot a couple times, but he never says why. If Pete is being truly at one point abused because
if he's afraid of that, that's one thing.
Elliot's behavior, then he should say, okay, Elliot, appear so we can explain what happened.
Mm-hmm.
He never says, Elliot, the reason why I want you to be invisible is because if you appear, I think people are going to capture you and hurt you. We don't know these people. But what he does say at one point is, I don't want you to scare people. But what you just said, he's creating all this havoc by accident or clumsiness.
Right.
So it's like, it's already happening. He's already freaking people out. So you might as well just say, okay, just get ready, everybody. A dragon's going to appear, but he's my friend and he's totally sweet.
But he can also just appear like just his face.
Right.
Like he doesn't even have to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
He can be hiding behind a building and just put his face over and just let his face appear.
And Elliot has free will.
And he has a cute little face.
Yeah. Elliot has free will and he has a brain. I mean, he does appear when he wants to. It's just like, I wish there was like
a little bit more.
But from Pete being like, here's the plan, Elliot. Here's the plan. And we don't ever really get that. And so it leads to Pete getting into some bad situations that almost make you dislike Elliot.
Like I said, he was giving me anxiety.
Yeah.
Go away, Elliot. You're not helping.
Right.
Why do you even need to be there in the first place?
That is what happens with Pete. Pete does do that. He says, Elliot, just go away.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing is he can fly, right? This dragon can fly.
Little bit.
A little bit.
Oh, no, of course he does at the end. Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So why can't he just take him far away so that the Gorgons can't get him? Can't he just fly to a different country?
That's an excellent
point. And you know that you figure out at the end, which I'll get to as well, that he's there to help him because he needs help. So just fly him somewhere far away.
Yeah. Well, I think at that point he knew that Nora and Lampy, like he understood that they were going to take him in. He heard Nora telling Pete.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like he felt more comfortable then. That's all the more reason to have that kind of plan. Like, let's fly so far away, but also where it's warm.
Right.
And we have more space.
Right.
But Pete Are we
or maybe
expecting
we
too
just
much?
need food first or something. You know, like,
Or
just
maybe,
some sort of a
I mean,
plan.
Pete is a child. He might not know geography and like where's a safe place
Maybe.
to land. Who knows?
I don't know.
And they did pick Passamaquoddy because it sounds like a nice place.
Oh, okay. Is that what, did he say
He
that?
said that. I mean, it's Maine, essentially. Yeah, but I digress.
That's funny.
Um,
So you can tell it's a 70s movie
because
they kick children. They are drunk all the time.
So it's supposed to take place in like the early 1900s.
Oh, okay, yes. But you can tell it's a 70s movie.
Absolutely. Although I think it even looks older than that.
Yeah.
Someone pointed out in some of my notes that this came out the same year as Star Wars.
How funny,
Isn't that
right?
bizarre? Like,
wow.
this movie, I know it's supposed to take place in the 1900s, but it almost looks like it was made in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels very classic Disney.
Definitely.
Okay, sorry.
And he says, "Darn you, Elliot." And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's risky for a little boy to say that, right? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't hear that these days for a little boy saying "darn you" because you know he means "damn you."
That's right. Well, it's also rated G. Public drunkenness, child abuse, the sexual assault of Nora in that bar.
So I have that as a note. So this is during the dragon song, and I think it's when Mickey Rooney comes in and sings about the dragon, right? So. And what was funny was when he first comes in, it's a super fun song. Yeah. I actually really like the song. I love the performance of it. Yeah. And I wrote, it's like a Beauty and the Beast vibe. It reminded me of Gaston.
Yeah, or Be Our Guest even.
Or all of that, but even in like in the bar atmosphere with Gaston.
That's right. Yeah, we have to kill the beast. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like kind of a combination of both of those. So, oh my gosh, this is so fun. And then, was it Nora who was in the? Nora. It was Nora in the bar. Okay, it wasn't yeah. So she's literally the only woman in the entire bar. Yep. And they are holding her down and basically sexually assaulting this woman.
I saw one guy absolutely grab her breast at one point to hold her back.
Yeah. And I wrote, wow, that went from Beauty the Beast to the accused pretty damn quick. But I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe they're literally like, why are they holding her down? And like, this is terrible.
Why is Lampy seemingly okay with this?
Everybody was okay with it.
Everybody
was okay with it.
This is Everyone his daughter. Was fine.
Just go ahead, grab her.
But
grab
Nora,
her wherever you want.
Like, is a strong woman.
Yes, she is.
Big. She is strong. She's tall, and she is like she can dance and she can sing and she's jumping on the barrel and like.
So look, that barrel dance was great.
Yeah. Although they do end up trashing the whole bar, which is sad.
They do. Yeah. But I love the rolling barrels because you don't even know what she's doing yet. She's just like looking weird. I'm like, what is going on? And then you see she's on the barrel, and then you see the guy, and it was like just such a great number.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed this because it felt like these were numbers. These were classic musical numbers that you could see up on a stage.
Yep.
And it was super enjoyable, and these people were so talented. All the extras were talented. It was very entertaining.
Yeah.
Very entertaining.
And a lot of good timing, comedic timing, and just the timing of the lyrics. Like the only thing, if I'm being super nitpicky, I think Mickey Rooney, his lip syncing isn't as strong as it should.
I noticed that in a few.
Yeah, just a couple moments. If I'm being really nitpicky, but
yes. But it's such a different way to produce back then
for
too.
Sure.
So,
but at the same time, Helen Reddy nailed it. The kid nailed it.
Yes.
Elliot nailed it.
And
then we get to, if I'm going too fast, let me know, but
it's okay.
Then we do get to one of my favorite songs.
It's Not Easy. So before that, I did write that she must have been having a conversation with maybe Pete, which she just says, I'm not even anybody's wife. And I'm like,
well, that's the 1900s for you.
That's the 1900s. Yeah. Oh, and she goes, so she's telling the story about her husband.
They're not.
Or fiance. Fiance.
Yeah.
She tells a story about him lost at sea, and he was never heard from again. That was a year ago. I'm like, a year ago? That's not that long. I thought she was going to say like 30 years ago.
I mean, back then, a lot of ships probably were out for a year.
Right? Yeah. I'm like, I thought that was really funny. I'm like, you couldn't even say 5 years ago? Like a year ago, people? Really?
He doesn't even call.
Well, how long did it take? How long did it take before you called off that search? 2 weeks? Like, maybe you could look a little bit longer?
Although, I don't blame her. I mean, Lampy's about as supportive as a rock.
Oh,
He's
God,
like,
Lampy. He's
realistic, Nora? He ain't never coming back.
Oh, my gosh, I know.
And then he goes, sorry. This movie does a good job of, like, really hurting someone's feelings and, like, them going, sorry.
Sorry. Sorry.
Pete does it to Elliot. He like lashes out at Elliot and says,
"Oh my gosh,
I'm sorry, Elliot."
As long
and
as you say sorry, everything's okay.
Right, and then Lampy lashes out at Nora and goes, "Sorry, I'm gonna go to the hardware store." Carl goes, "He's not going to the hardware store." So yeah, so It's Not Easy, which I think is one of the sweetest little songs.
It is so sweet, and not only that, I'm sorry, I'm probably talking too much.
It's okay.
But
no, I know I am.
It's so cute and so sweet, and the two of them sound so good together. Yeah. It was really noticeable how well their voices melded together.
Yeah. And it was a bonding scene.
It was a super
because
bonding.
It's like,
it was so
how
sweet.
And it was smart of the movie because it's like, this is a stranger. She's a grown woman taking a kid, and of course, not going to leave him in a cave to die. Right. But it's also like they have to somehow bond, and this is a really sweet duet. She's learning about this quote unquote imaginary friend,
right?
And they're bonding through singing together, and it really doesn't feel as cheesy as I think explaining it to someone would,
right?
But it's like, I mean, and then my sister like was staying here, and so she walked and she's like, "Did I miss the song?" We still sing that song together. It's like, he has the head of a camel. I mean, I can sing it right now. So sweet, so cute. Like, and I thought it was nice when she's like, "Where'd you get this Bruce from?" And he didn't want to change in front of her. I'm like, someone thought about that. Yeah, I feel like in a Disney movie, it's like kids are like just getting dressed and it's all very fun and playful, like Mary Poppins.
Right.
And it's like, this kid's like, "No, I don't feel comfortable with you. You are a stranger. Yes. As nice as you're being to me, I don't know you." And I was like, someone thought about that and it was calling that out. And I thought it was just a nice little touch because like, he doesn't really know Nora.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that's part of classic Disney. Like, I think that Disney's fine now, but I do think that they gave it so much. I think Walt gave it so much thought to the details, the little tiny details to make it a real conversation and a real situation where people can actually relate to these characters.
And I will say this movie didn't it did obviously it made its box office back. It did like 4 times its budget, but it was still underperformed. And some critics were really split on it, that it was way too saccharine, and a lot of people said, "Oh, they're just trying to they're trying to reinvigorate this Mary Poppins type of movie." But I don't think that makes it bad. It's like,
no, and when was Mary Poppins?
30, you remember? 39? Was it 40? Oh my God, I'm so wrong. Wait. Was 39 Sound of Music?
That sounds
so, and
more
I think
correct.
Mary Poppins was right after that.
I'll look it up right now.
God, I'm hoping I'm not too wrong. But this was without Walt. Pete's Dragon was without Walt, and
it was.
It was.
Mary Poppins is 1964.
Oh wow, I was way off. Sorry, everybody. Way off.
Hold on, Sound of Music. I have to look at that real quick.
What was Sound of Music?
Sound of Music was 65.
Oh my God, I'm so wrong. Am I thinking of Gone with the Wind?
Gone with the Wind was
39.
Let's check out Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz were 39.
Gone with the Wind was 39, yes.
And Wizard of Oz was 39. All right, so I'm wrong. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, so, but still, I don't think that's a bad thing to try and bring it. Yeah, trying to bring it back. But and also,
it's not like it was 2 years later. It was 10 years later.
Yeah, but people were really hard in this movie.
Or maybe they just had that expectation.
Yeah, but people were really hard in this movie. We're trying to invigorate the musical and all that. But it's like, I think it worked, and I think
it worked too. I thought it was very successful.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really good. So then we meet, and gosh, through my middle age, and this is what I was really worried about, because I was like, he's going to be a time killer, because he's not. I think if you had to say get rid of somebody, I think you would get rid of Doc Terminus. Ultimately,
yes.
And through my middle age, I was worried. So I'm like, oh, he's going to be the time killer. He's why this movie is over 2 hours long. But Jim Dale is A+.
He's amazing.
The facial expressions, I was loving everything he did.
He was great.
Like, I will say the only song that I found went on too long, because there was even a reprise of it, is them talking about killing the dragon.
Yes, I thought
every
that
little
was
piece.
so right around there is when it slowed down for me as well.
Yep.
But I was so happy that this guy, I'm going to say what, Doc Terminus?
Yes, Doc Terminus, yeah.
I was really nervous because I had looked up, of course, I'm a big fan of Jim Dale. Yeah. And I looked at his role and I'm like, oh God, I hope it's like a good role. I hope I'm going to figure out where he is. Because I've never even seen him. I mean, I've seen him as an older person in the back of the, in the back of the audio, whatever. But I was like, I hope it's a good role. So I was very happy to see that it was like sort of a majorer, more of a major role. And even Red Buttons is really cute in it, right? Like he's such a good character.
But I'm about to say something really embarrassing.
Oh no.
I was 51 years old when I realized, upon rewatch last week, that he was the old woman. I never caught it. I knew he was the guy with the beard. I knew Red Buttons was the guy with the beard. I didn't know he was the old woman.
That's really funny.
That's so funny. I was a child. He did an amazing. Oh, he's so good.
He did a good job.
So good.
But even as a child, did you know that he was conning everybody?
Oh, completely.
Okay, you did get that part. Okay,
because that's when he appeared. I was like, oh no, this is because he's such a waste of time for that reason. He's a quack. Like it's like, and the townspeople don't want him there. I know he's not great. He's super mean to Elliot. He's not nice to Pete. He betrays Pete. He's rude to Nora. Like, and I remembered him just being like this, like not so much a villain, but like
because we already have a villain,
like a nudge. Like we have the Gogans. That's plenty. That's a whole family of villains.
Right.
We don't need another villain. But he gave this movie like an extra zip.
Yes, he did, because he is sort of an extravagant character.
Yeah.
And it took us away from Pete a little bit, which you needed. Like if it was just all Pete and his drama and
getting in trouble,
all of that, like that would have been a lot.
Yep.
So I loved this character coming in.
Yep.
I do think it was a bit big of a role. It could have cut a couple of the scenes down a little bit like I guess all the scenes he was in was a little long.
Yeah.
So, and I love him, don't get me wrong. He was a great character, but I just felt as far as time was concerned, shorter scenes would have given a little bit more, a shorter movie at least.
Yeah.
Right?
I like I said, that's what I was most nervous about, that he's just a time killer, but through my middle-aged ones, like you can appreciate his performance so much, but that Every Little Piece song is, to me, one of the negatives, only because there is a reprise. It goes on very, very long. And it's not a nice song. It's very mean.
Well, again, I love the villain songs. So I did love the song.
Okay, yeah.
But
it is very Poor Unfortunate Souls. You have such a good point about that, Christine, that the villain songs are always so entertaining.
Villain songs are the best songs in any Disney movie. The
song that he starts off with is Pasmaschladi is actually the name of the song. And what's so great is the townspeople are so over him. They've all been burned. And he just has a line for everything, an excuse for everything. And I thought it was just fantastic.
It's a great idea.
Go back to where you belong. Jail. And just Jim Dale's facial expressions when he can't remember the name of the damn.
It's so good.
It's so funny. And Red Buttons is there making these facial expressions, like trying to help him.
And he's trying to help. Yeah, he's trying to whisper the name of the song, the name of the town.
And because it also does point out that this town's been through a lot too, and then maybe that's why they're not so nice to Pete, because he's another stranger with a big tall tale to tell, just like this doc that screwed the whole town over, made everybody poor with his fake remedies. Now we have a kid with a fake dragon that's destroying our businesses, and it's scaring the fish away, for God's sake.
That's
so
right.
That's why they're not
love
nice.
That whole
that's why they're not very nice.
Too.
Yeah, it's not very nice to Pete.
I loved when he said, this is after the song, he says, I hate pasta fagioli, or whatever it's called. Just talking about the song. I mean, sorry, talking about the town. I hate pasta fagioli, or whatever it's called.
When she's like, and now I took one of your remedies, and now I'm a blob. And this is overweight woman. And he's like, but now there's even more of you to love. And she's all like, oh, thank you. Like all flattered. So funny.
Yeah.
And again, that's like that comedic singing timing thing, which is done so well here too. My next note, though, is that brutal Lampy thing where he tells Nora to forget about Paul ever coming back.
So before that,
yeah.
I think, is this before or after he meets Elliot?
When
Lampy?
Oh, way after.
Okay.
Pete's already living there.
Okay. So Lampy meets and I think was it Red Buttons with him? Oh no, I think he was alone the first time.
Yes.
But here's the thing, he's drunk,
yes,
right? So I also said lesson to be learned, don't drink, because every time a drunk person comes back with a story, it's like, you're
no
drunk.
one believes him.
Sorry, I've never hallucinated a dragon anytime I've been drunk, but whatever.
I mean, it's also G. I mean, he is so drunk.
Yeah. Well,
oh my God.
This was a common theme back then, especially with Disney. Look at the Aristocats, right? They have these whole scenes with everybody's drunk. It's a cartoon.
Well, in Dumbo,
there's always like a drunk scene. It wasn't a big deal back then for them to be drunk. But anyway, so Lampy meets Elliot, and at one point I thought there was going to be a twist, because all of a sudden I said, "Ooh!" First of all, I said it was fun.
Yeah.
But then I wrote, "Ooh, does Lampy speak dragon?" Because he could understand what Elliot was saying. And I'm like, what are we going to find out here? Is there a connection with Elliot and Lampy? Like, where he can actually understand him and nobody else can?
Yeah.
So I thought there was going to be a twist that Lampy was going to be, but it never went anywhere.
Yeah.
So then I was like, why does he understand?
Well, maybe when you're drunk, you're more open to accepting.
Maybe. Yeah, the mentality of a child or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I said, listen to be learned, don't drink. And then, she says, so he must have been living there, because my next note was she's talking to Pete and he doesn't want to go to school.
Right.
And she said, do you want to be stupid when you grow up?
I have that same note. Do you want to be stupid when you grow up? Like the Gogans? So my sister was sitting there when that line happened. She goes, oh my God, they could never say that today.
Right?
To a kid. You want to be stupid? Oh my God.
Yeah. Hey, there's certain, life experiences give you education too,
Before that though, Christina, I have a couple of notes. One is Candle on the Water, which was nominated for an Oscar back then. It's Nora's song in the Lighthouse.
Is it? So I didn't know all of the names of these songs. Okay. Is it Room for Everyone, or is that something
later?
Different? Okay.
Okay. Candle on the Water, it's just her. So Lampy says he's never coming back. Get over it. And she's really upset. And she runs up to the top of the lighthouse. And it's just her at the top of the lighthouse, and the camera is panning in and gets closer and closer. And that's like the entire song. It's just like the camera on the lighthouse. Mm-hmm. And she's singing, I'll be your candle on the water, my love for you. And through my middle-aged lens, something happened, and I'm like, oh my God, these lyrics. And because I was sort of singing along, so I'm like, I know the soundtrack by heart. And it's like, you could be singing this to someone going through addiction, someone going through a depression. When you really listen to the lyrics, I think the best Disney songs are always about more than one thing.
Sure.
And so I think that Candle on the Water is such a beautiful, beautiful song. And again, no one ever talks about it. It's never
I'm not sure that they wrote it that way either. And I think
no. I mean,
now
it's very
as a middle-aged,
it feels
in 2024.
I mean, she's literally on the lighthouse saying, I'm your candle on the water. I'll be your candle on the water.
And she's
so
sitting
it's very literal.
And she's in a lighthouse.
Exactly. Right. It's very literal. But I do think it transcends that as a grown-up without a lighthouse.
Sure.
Being like, oh, you're just reaching out to someone who's lost.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that you can't find them. It means you can't reach them in some way. Well, I think it's a beautiful song.
It's the Eurythmics that we just
when Here Comes the Rain Again.
Here Comes the Rain Again. All of a sudden we're like, wait.
It's depression. And you know it right away because we're older now. Right. But back then we were just singing along because it's like rain. Yeah.
And what would be interesting is asking an adult, like an older adult. So you wonder, is it because of this day and age, which I think it is, but I also wonder what adults thought of, like someone our age, listening to Here Comes the Rain Again.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s. Or listening to this song back in the 70s, if they would have thought of it the way we are thinking of it now, if it's an age thing or if it's a sign of the times thing.
Yeah.
Could be a combination.
I think, that's interesting.
Or even if Emily, now 15-year-old Emily, listened to Candle in the Water, what she would interpret that as.
Without watching the movie.
I might do that because she hasn't seen this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious to see what she says.
Me too.
I think it sounds very inspirational, like helping someone who's in a darkness.
All right, we'll have to see.
So did you catch. So with the doc using the tongue suppressor, Carl and I both caught it. So he's giving this person like a throat. He's examining this guy's throat in the bar, which is super clean. And then he takes out the tongue suppressor and wipes it on the guy's shirt. My gosh. And he throws it back in his bag.
Oh my gosh, that is so gross. Can you imagine?
And it's so quick. And I'm like, Carl and I both caught it though. We laughed. I'm like, there's no way I noticed that when I was a kid.
Yeah, there's no way. And yeah, that's really funny.
And now we're going to get to the scene that you were talking about earlier with Lampy and Hoagie, that's Red Button's character, drunk out of their minds, walking to the cave. A little bit of trivia on that. Because Mickey Rooney and
this is before or after Every Little Piece? Because I don't think I have any notes about the two of them together, seeing them. I have when Mickey Rooney first saw him.
No, because Lampy is talking to Doc and Hoagie, and he's like, there's a dragon. It's only when Hoagie confirms the dragon is real.
Right, because he was in the school, right? Yeah. Elliot.
Oh, that's right, yeah. And the cutout of Elliot, which is very Roger Rabbit.
So funny,
Roger
right?
Rabbit stole it from Pete's Dragon. But that little scene of them walking to the cave, originally the director said, just ad-lib some stuff. Like, you're just drunk, you guys. They ad-libbed for 20 straight minutes.
Oh,
and the director's like,
gosh.
Tears in his eyes, like, that was amazing. Unfortunately, I can't use any of it.
Yeah.
You can't do 20 minutes of back and forth banter. He's like, we have like maybe 2 minutes. And
I wonder is that anywhere?
I don't know. But Carl and I were laughing. I'm like, I can't believe Disney. Like, it's like open drunkenness, like slurring the words.
It was like part of a Disney movie.
So messy. This is This is a family film.
Right. Well, there wasn't anything wrong with the drinking back then. It was a funny thing.
But
right?
hilarious.
I did say so this is before that song "Room for Everyone."
Yeah.
I just wrote that was kind of a snooze. I don't know if we needed that.
So again, I this really funny because when it started, I was like, oh, this song. And my sister's like, oh, I always loved that song. And I was like, it's a little bit of a time killer. But, again, through a middle-aged lens, this could easily be about, if you listen to the lyrics, racism, immigration.
True, that's true.
Animal rights, our ecosystem, like class inequality. Like, it really covers the bases. You honestly forget what the song's even about. I'm like, wait, Room for Everyone. All she's talking about is Pete. She's not even talking about the dragon. When Pete joins in, Pete talks about Elliot.
Interesting.
Like, let's all help Elliot, whatever, with his work, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you hear the lyrics, it's just like, there's room for everyone if everyone just backs up and stops being so greedy.
That's true.
And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, this is such a timely song. And I didn't dive too deeply into it, but I just like, was that the point of the song, to be about more than what it was?
Again, I think I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past Disney for doing that, but also I just think looking at it as an adult and just reading more into it, and again, the sign of the times.
Yeah. The only thing that bothered me about that scene was the fact the kids all knew the dance number. Yeah. Like, it's like, I didn't mind it so much when it was just Pete and Nora singing back and forth.
Right.
When the kids all knew the words and they all got involved and sang along and started dancing.
Showy.
That was a bit much for me, even though, like, to me, it made sense that the Gogans would do crazy dances together. It made sense. Like, it made sense that Pete and Nora would sing to each other. That's cute. A whole tribe of children, that's when I was like, this is a little much. Yeah. A little much.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I love the beating of the children. They were like, they
beat
the children. They put a dunce cap on them.
The knuckle cracker and the behind breaker.
Crazy.
Which is not half as much fun as it sounds.
And then, of course, and then again, middle-aged lens.
Yeah.
And then again, Elliot is nothing but trouble. Like, he just caused so much trouble. And that's my next note is about Every Little Piece.
Well, really quick though, a couple of things. Did you not laugh out loud when Elliot pushed Nora on the swing? Did you not catch that?
I don't think I caught that.
She's singing "There's Room for Everyone," and Nora and Peter.
Again, "Room for Everything" was just like
room for everyone, Christina.
Whatever.
She's on the swing with Pete, and Elliot, invisible, goes up behind her and pushes her, and she goes flying.
Oh, I don't even.
And Helen Reddy's like, "Oh my god!" Like she's looking all around, like what the hell was that? And Carl and I busted out laughing. But then the final line of, do you remember the final line of "There's Room for Everyone"? If you fast forward it, it's fine.
I did not fast forward it.
The final line, and I don't think this would fly today. Just the way God planned it. Just the way God planned.
Interesting.
And that to me means the song is about way more than Pete.
Sure.
In town. This is about truly everyone. And they're getting biblical about it. So I thought that was kind of bold. And again, when I was a kid.
Religion didn't mean as much. Like there wasn't as much controversy
it's honestly
surrounding it.
It's honestly suggesting there's one religion.
Right.
Right? So, but I thought it was pretty bold of this movie. And again, this is 1977. And when you hear it now, it's like, oh my God, just the way, literally, oh my God, like just the way God planned it. Okay. It's hard to argue. And then the bitchiness between Nora and Miss Taylor is like something out of
so good.
Bitchy Real Housewives. Like
designing
women, the facial expressions, the fake sincerity is so
really
funny.
Good. Yeah, I really love that too. I do love Nora. Like she's just such a great, strong, independent woman, even though she isn't a wife.
Yep, and she got a lot of crappy reviews actually.
Did she really?
They did, because she had a lot to lose, because she was, quote, the pop queen of the 70s. She had she sold like 80 million albums. She's like,
is this after I Am Woman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she really, she was the queen of pop for the 70s. This is as she was known. She had like 15 number one hits. She was from Canada, but she had a lot of crossover hits. But I believe this is true. She sold like 80 million albums. So, really as big as you could get for, for the 70s. Yeah. And people were saying she was just too much in the movie.
So it's interesting because I do have a note about her in here, and I get what people were saying.
Yeah.
I wrote that I like her, but there is just something that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
She stands out, and I said, in a good way, but her overall presence is just big. Like it's her voice. Something about her is like just too elegant for the rest of them.
Yeah.
It just seems like she's just too much.
She's also all-knowing. Like, she really is so confident and she's also tall. She's broad,
tall. Yeah,
broad
just everything
shouldered.
about her is just big.
Like,
voice, personality.
Here's some trivia. They wanted Olivia Newton-John. Because Olivia Newton-John was a huge pop star in the 70s.
I think that would have worked.
This would have been before Grease, by the way. But the thing is, I don't know if it would have worked. I don't know. Helen Reddy is
she might not have that
strong. Yeah. Because I'm trying to picture Olivia Newton-John on that lighthouse singing that song. And I'm like, you know what? It would have been a much sappier ballad. And it's not about that. Like, Nora, she's strong in her belief.
Yes. I think it would have worked in some ways. But then what I'm thinking is like her altercation with the teacher. I don't think it would have been as effective with
her fighting against the Gogans on the boat. I couldn't have seen Olivia Newton-John doing that. Right. And I'm a huge Olivia Newton-John fan.
Are.
Like Helen Reddy, it's great because Helen Reddy was such a big feminist in the 70s, and it makes sense for her to be in this role. And I completely bought her. And I think as a kid, I love Nora because she was so big and larger than life and strong. Because the Gogans are bigger, larger than life. Doc's larger than life. Lampy's. If she was mousy, it would not have worked, and I would have felt bad for Nora. So I think it was. But when in my notes and all my research for this movie for this episode, that she got more negative reviews than positive.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is, when they said, why do you want to do this movie? And she said, to be honest, she had no grandchildren at that point. She's like, I would just love someday for my grandchildren to be able to see me in a movie.
Aww,
yep,
that's nice.
That's what she did. She did it for the grandchildren.
Did she ever have grandchildren?
I believe so.
That would be a dark turn.
I don't know. Oh, God. Okay, so let's see. Where are we?
Guaranteed to bring puberty 2 years earlier.
So, yeah, rated G. Okay, yeah, every little piece is probably just one of my negatives. Bind him up, grind him up, lock him up, chop him up. I said, it's such a mean song, and it goes on way too long.
Yeah, I did say I loved it. But again, I have this thing for villain songs. Yeah. I did really like it, but again, it did go on long, but I did love it. Mm-hmm. I loved his performance in it.
Doc says to Nora, they make it to the lighthouse because now Doc wants to buy Elliot.
For every little piece.
Yeah. So they make their way to the lighthouse, and Doc says, Nora, at last, we've seen the light. He laughs, and he laughs at his own joke, and she rolls her eyes, and I'm like, this is just...
I love it.
So much fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It is a lot of fun.
And then...
Razzle Dazzle Day?
Before that, really quick, they do say, they said, Elliot, I said to Pete, I want to buy Elliot, and he says, I don't own Elliot.
Which I love. I love that.
And Red Button says, what did you do? Rent him? Oh my God. And then Nora comes over and she's like, guys, wait a minute. You want to buy Elliot? And Doc says, Nora, go paint your lighthouse. So nasty. Then poor Pete, this is the best time I've ever had in my whole life. He's painting a fucking lighthouse. It's like child labor. No, I mean, you wonder what the Gogans had him do. Because right now this kid's painting a lighthouse.
Well, I think they did that
3
on
feet
purpose.
tall.
Do you think they did that on purpose to like show that he was like really abused? Like this is the fun in his
This
life?
is the most fun you've ever had.
How about riding a dragon?
How about riding a flying dragon? Exactly. Right. Riding a flying dragon wasn't the best time of your life.
That wasn't quite fun?
Poor Elliot, if he overheard that comment.
Oh my God.
Like, fuck you, kid. I saved you from a lifetime of abuse. Yes, Brazzle Dazzle Day.
Is it Brazzle?
Brazzle Dazzle Day. Oh, you know what I meant to say? The Doc song felt a little Chicago to me.
Oh, sure.
Like I could see Richard Gere singing that. And similar in Brazzle Dazzle Day. I was so impressed. So they built this lighthouse for this movie, by the way.
Ah.
It is not in Maine. It's supposed to it takes place in Maine, but it is actually filmed in California. Mm-hmm. This is a to scale lighthouse. So everything, and they built it, and they had to be really careful. They had to get permission from the Coast Guard because it was a functioning lighthouse.
Wow.
And they were really afraid that boats were going to get thrown off course.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Wild?
Yeah.
So, how cool, though, from a middle-age lens, that they're scaling the side, and there's no stunt doubles. They're lip-syncing while they're being dragged up the side of a lighthouse.
It was very cool. I thought this was a really cool number, and I actually specifically loved Mickey Rooney in this. I thought he was really, really good.
Yeah.
But the whole number was really fun, and the song was cute, and just, I loved the whole idea of it.
Only negative, there's no way in hell they're cleaning it. Like, they're just farting around.
Oh,
they're all screwing around. They're all like, and then that's not how breath works. Like, she's going like on the other side of the glass, and they're wiping the steam off. I'm like, that's not how that works, you guys. My next note, the Gogans are back. Mm-hmm. And wow, the boys really want to get their hands on Nora. Ew.
Yes, they sure do.
They sure do.
Super gross. Again, with this assault.
Yeah, the accused
they just
part two.
They want to hold her down. I'll get the girl. Like, oh my God, enough.
And then the father gets into it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll hold her. And Mrs. Gogan says, if you want to hold her the way those boys want to hold her. What did she say?
So,
something.
It's very disturbing.
Very disturbing.
I also said, Helen, is this really the outfit you want to wear when you're going lobstering? She's dressed like a school teacher in her finest outfit. Yeah. And she's lobstering. Yeah. Like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah. That's completely.
That's not good.
We done had our bath in May. That's,
Shelley.
No, it was one of the kids. It was, what's his face? Who do we keep talking about? Grease.
Okay. I'm gonna have to rewatch that scene just to look at him.
Yeah.
We bought him fair and square.
Oh my God.
That's so scary. I think that as a child is so terrifying.
Including legals.
Including legals. including legals. $50 plus 50-cent legal.
That's right. Which, that is a bargain for a lawyer.
Yes. And so here's where I get a little bit annoyed because Nora still isn't believing that Elliot is real. The whole town has seen him. The whole town believes there's a dragon. The doc wants to buy him. There's so many people around her that's like, the dragon's real. The dragon's real. We've seen it. We've seen his imprint on the school walls.
That's right. People
have seen his face. And yet, she's still feeling like this is an imaginary friend.
Well, how about when Doc goes to the lighthouse, he says, I heard about what happened at school. And Nora cuts him off and says, we're not talking about that. So I'm like, but what was her take on that?
What is her take?
She had to have picked Pete up from school.
I mean, people are talking about a dragon, right?
The outline of a dragon on both sides of the schoolhouse.
Right. So what's going on? I said, Nora, please don't snuffle up against Pete. And then I was like, Pete, why don't you just show Elliot to her? I don't understand that whole point.
That was my note.
Just show her. She's not that far away. She went down there.
She also originally loves Pete so much. Like, she was the one. She has done so much for Pete. Like, it's not clear. And that's my note 2 pages ago. And I was like, it's a little unclear why he is knowingly, openly letting people introduce themselves to Elliot. And just honestly, openly saying, oh, no, it's not me, it's my dragon. But with Nora, he talks about Elliot.
Oh, he described him.
Yeah, but why wouldn't he want them to meet? They're the 2 most important things in his life.
It just didn't occur to him or
it's
something?
A little weird.
I don't know. And maybe he didn't realize that Nora wasn't believing him, too, because she does go along with it, because she feels like he has made this imaginary friend because of his terrible upbringing and all that. And so she is going along with it. So maybe Pete doesn't get it, that she really just doesn't believe him. Yeah. So that could be the reason. Yeah.
She also got a little hurt because, Pete was like, maybe Elliot can help find Paul. And she was kind of like, sure, kid.
Okey-dokey.
Sure.
I don't know. We've stopped looking 8 months ago. Maybe you can find me a new date.
Oh my God.
I did write that. I did like that no one really gets hurt. Like, even the bad guys, sometimes in Disney's, they get a little bit violent. Yeah. And the people are shot and pushed off buildings and things. In this, the bad guys, they get into circumstances. They get kind of thrown and stuff, but no one really gets hurt. No. So I do like that part of it.
The harpoon is fucking scary, though. When, like, you think they're going to harpoon Elliot. Oh, my God.
Well, the bad guys, I think, need to be bad. Yeah. So,
I did write some pop culture PTSD, because when I was a little kid, seeing Elliot under those tarps and those blankets and seeing people jump on top of him, that is heartbreaking. Yeah, that's up there with The Horse, The Never-Ending Story.
Yes. Well, maybe not.
For me, as a child, Christina, for me.
I was still very impressed with the graphics throughout. That's another note that I wrote. It's just really good graphics throughout. Very seamless. Yep. Very believable.
Doc goes flying with the harpoon.
Yes.
He lets out, it's a goofy scream. It's like, it's that one. It's hilarious.
So I only have, my last note is really about the end.
Okay.
I can't believe Elliot leaves.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Why? Why does he have to leave?
He saved him.
I said, well, that sucks.
I know.
And I said, he can't visit? Like, he never sees them again?
When I was a kid, I cried. Absolutely
I bet you did. Yeah. I wanted to cry. Like, what the fuck? I just didn't understand. Like, why does he have to leave? Like, I get that he was there to help him. That's fine. Yeah. But how nice would it have been for him to be flying by with another boy on his back and, like, waving or something? Oh. Right? Like, why does he have to never see him again?
Yeah.
That made me sad.
That's pretty rough.
He didn't seem that bothered by it either, by the way.
Well, through my middle-age lens, like, it was clearly like, okay, get this kid some onions. Because he goes from like, oh, you're never coming back? And it cuts to Elliot, and it cuts back to Pete, and Pete is, his tears all over his face. I'm like, okay, I didn't see him cry any of those tears, but that's fine.
Yeah, it wasn't super believable, that.
But my other note before that was like, wow, Paul has had quite the experience.
Oh, God, Paul.
I can't even believe
Jesus.
the movie attempted to do that.
Yeah, that was...
Here's Paul's experience. He was on the seas. His ship sank. Mm-hmm. They saved him. He had amnesia. They put him in a hospital. Elliot came along, knocked him out of bed. He hit his head again, remembered everything.
Yeah. Sounds like a Days of Our Lives storyline.
By the way, this is one speech that Paul says one. Like, it's all in one breath. It's in one breath.
One paragraph of dialogue in this whole movie.
But, God damn it, did I get goosebumps when Nora saw Paul? Yes, I did. And they run and they hug. And when Elliot said...
By the way, we have a kid now? Maggie was like, nah, I don't think so.
And when Elliot's like, burp, 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 when he Swedish chefs goodbye to Pete, I was like, oh my God, I did kind of forget, like, that he says goodbye, because it's very abrupt.
Yes.
And, but then he does, appear and he waves goodbye. Thank God Nora, I was glad that he was able to save... the lighthouse with the lighting the wick.
Oh, yes.
Nora kisses him. I thought that was really hilarious.
All of that was very cute.
It's all nice. And God damn it, more. I liked it even more than I did when I was a kid. It was one of my favorite movies as a kid, and I liked it even more.
Yes, I will say I really loved it. This might be my favorite revisit
of my birthdays.
Revisit, the birthday.
Which is really saying something, because you watched Moonstruck.
Yep.
The Neverending Story.
Yep.
Xanadu.
Mm-hmm.
And is this it? The fourth?
This might be it. I was looking it up. We didn't always do this on birthdays, which is kind of funny.
The first year we went through it.
So I think I had 4. We did it at a different time. Because The Jerk was my first one.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a birthday episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So I don't know what we were thinking.
The budget for this was $10 million. That's great. I'm so glad you liked it. I was a little worried. I was really worried. Because I know you're not a fan of 2-hour movies.
Well, let me tell you something. If it wasn't a musical, it would have been a probably different conversation.
You didn't get Emily to watch it?
No, I had asked Matt and Emily. Matt had seen it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just hard to tie them all down.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I think Matt was like, I'll watch it. But then he just wasn't around.
Emily's super musical. Do you think she would get any enjoyment out of this?
She probably would, actually.
Yeah. Budget was $10 million. Not bad. They built a lighthouse for this thing.
Wow.
Budget was $40 million. But again, it's not considered a hit for Disney.
Well, the other thing, too, is the budget, the cast in this movie was incredible.
To get Helen Reddy, I mean, again, Queen of Pop. At that point, 2 Oscar nominations for score and song for Candle in the Water. I said that. Funny, the writer, the screenplay is by Malcolm Mamerstein, and he named the dragon Elliot after his dear friend Elliot Gould.
No way! Yep. Oh my gosh!
Olivia Newton-John and Dawn Wells were considered for Nora.
Oh my gosh!
The lighthouse was built. I said that. Yep, I said that already.
I don't think Dawn Wells would have done a good job either. I feel like
we only know her from Gilligan's Island.
But I feel like she would be too mousy as well.
Mousy. So clearly there's a different image of Nora, but I'm so glad they went with a strong Nora.
Yes.
Because she would have, I hate to say that, if it was Olivia or Dawn, it would have been a different character. And I think it would have been the weakest character. And you don't want that. Yep. From your heroine, from your leading lady in a Disney movie. I mean, for almost all intents and purposes, she could, if it was released today, she would probably be considered one of those Disney princess type people. Yes. She has that longing song. Mm-hmm. She fights with the villains. She defends this child. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was excellent.
So we have another Disney movie where the child doesn't have a mother. Yet another. Crazy how many Disney movies are like
you have to have the kid yearning.
Yeah, we talked about this with our way back with our Little Mermaid discussion.
Yeah.
I don't know what episode that was, but I think it was the first year.
So, and if you want to just revisit even the soundtrack, I mean, go to Spotify. It's all on there, and it's
it's a really good
songs. But
it is revisit the movie though. It's on Disney Plus right now.
It's on Disney Plus, and it looks gorgeous.
Yes, it was great.
It looked really beautiful. I have a match game.
I have an FMK.
Jeez. Do you want my match game first?
Sure.
Okay. Well, it's a good thing Elliot stepped in on Miss Taylor when he did. Because after the knuckle cracker and the behind breaker, she was going to unleash her most evil move, the blank wrecker.
Oh, gosh. Several things.
All right. Whew. The Knuckle Cracker and Behind Breaker were classics of Miss Taylor's child abuse. But her most evil move was the blank wrecker.
The ball wrecker?
Oh, I did neck wrecker.
Oh, like see, that would have been good too. I was almost going to say head wrecker.
Oh, that's good. Oh, wrist wrecker.
Oh my God. I was trying to think of,
yeah.
I was trying to think of W.
Ball wrecker.
But
ball wrecker.
I know, I gave up on the alliteration. But even like knuckle, what was it? Knuckle
cracker.
Knuckle cracker.
And the behind breaker truth. That's it. Yeah.
So anyway.
All right, so the FMK, which is going to be lovely.
No, it's not. Well, it's interesting. So we have 3 here.
Okay.
We have Lampy,
Yep.
which is Mickey Rooney. We have Dr. Terminus.
Okay.
Jim Dale. And we have Elliot, voiced by Charlie Callis. We have an F, a Mary, and a K. So let me write down what I think you're going to do.
I have a question I have to ask.
Yeah.
Do I speak dragon?
Of course, yeah.
I do speak dragon. Okay,
yeah.
all right.
You'll have to be able to.
Okay. Oh, Lord.
I don't think it's that hard.
Okay, well, it might surprise you. It actually might surprise. It surprises me. Ding.
All right. So who we have? We have FMK. We have Lampy, Elliot, and Dr. T.
Gonna F the doctor.
Okay.
I kind of like his frame, his style. He's very confident.
He might have some special potions.
Yeah,
too.
maybe a little kinky. I'm going to marry Elliot because he's just big and lovable, and he's going to protect me.
He'll take you on dragon rides.
Take me on dragon rides, and we can sing songs together. And I speak dragon, which is a big plus.
Yes.
And then I'm killing Lampy because he's just a drunk.
It's not a surprise at all. It's exactly what I thought.
Oh my God! I am surprised though. What would you say?
I would say the same thing.
You would?
Yeah, because there's something sexy about the doc. Something about him.
He's so
he's just kind
sly
of
and confident. He has nice eyes. He has really pretty eyes.
And you know I like Jim Dale.
Jim Dale, yeah.
But yes, I would definitely F him. I wouldn't trust him, so I wouldn't marry him. And then I would oh, excuse me. I would kill Lampy, not because I don't like him, but he is a drunk.
Yeah.
And he's old. So he doesn't have much left anyway.
It's a lot of stairs in that
Certainly
lighthouse.
not going to be effing him.
Well, and also, too, it's nowadays he'd have to drive places. It's unreliable.
Yes. And marrying Elliot, I think he would be fun. I think he'd be
totally fun.
He'd be making me apple crisp.
And creme brulee. Creme brulee and a snap. But and I think, just a sweet dragon.
Yes, it's sweet.
He's so sweet. He's full of love. It's
honestly, maybe he wouldn't talk that much.
There you go. So this is great, Christine. I'm so glad you liked it. I was worried.
I'm very glad you suggested it. I never would have watched this on my own. Never.
All right. And happy birthday to me. And
happy birthday.
Yeah, and I would love it if everyone checked out Pete's Dragon. And so
it was a birthday gift
to me. It's
Brian.
all I ask.
If you like Brian, and I know you all do, check it out. It's on Disney Plus. And you will like it.
But really quick, there is a remake, and it's a non-musical with Robert Redford and Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh my gosh!
And it's not. And it's like
did you see it?
I did. There's some cool special effects, but it's not a musical. It's very different.
Okay, yeah, don't do that one.
But Pete's
do
Dragon.
The original 1977. You'll like it. You'll like it.
And that, friends, was Pete's Dragon.
Happy birthday, Brian!
Finally. And that's it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates.
Thank you for listening. Please remember to follow us on Instagram or YouTube, where we have our episodes as well as a little extra.
And if you have any questions about our show, any suggestions for movies we could revisit, reach out to us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com.
Thanks again for listening.
This is Brian.
And this is Christina. Until next time.